Hey guys, I just wanted to share a little story with you. A couple of weeks ago, my family and I went to Orlando. We actually went to, we spent the night in a hotel or whatever, and then the next day we were going to go to the theme parks. So I had I changed my set and my reservoir and all that good stuff before we left. Um, but because we were going to be at the park all day long and I didn't know if it was going to be hot or what have you, I didn't want to bring my whole vial of insulin and the change, and I knew we wouldn't really be, because everything would stay in the car and it would heat up. So my solution to not having to bring extra sets and the whole vial of insulin and no refrigerator and all that, my solution was my trusty Levemir pen. It's my long-acting insulin that I obviously don't use when I'm on the pump. But before I was on the pump, I used the Levemir for my my basal insulin, and I used a Novolog Flex Pen for my fast-acting insulin. So my thought was to bring this as my backup, because if something were to happen, God forbid, with my pump, I would have a backup. Thank God I did, because I will have you know that lo and behold, the night before we even went to the park, after we got back to the hotel, I ripped my infusion set out. And that sounds way worse than it is, because it's really not that bad. It wasn't that painful or anything like that. It was just that it was my first moment of like that true feeling of nakedness, for lack of a better word, because now I didn't have my pump, and I'm kind of becoming like one with my pump, so to speak. So it was kind of a scary feeling. But so what I did anyway, because that's kind of what I want to portray here, what I did throughout the night, I was around 70 when that happened, when I ripped it out. So I knew I was going low anyway. So I obviously didn't worry about insulin at that point in time, and actually ate a piece of pizza. So, and didn't have anything to bolus with. But again, I was 70, so I wasn't too awful concerned about it. I woke up at about 5 in the morning and I checked myself, and I was I was in the 150s, like, 155-ish, something like that. And then woke up again at 7 and checked myself then, and I was 160. Now at 5 o'clock when I checked and I was 155, I went ahead and gave myself a dose of Levemir. And for me, I calculated it based on, I haven't been on the pump long, so it was easy for me to calculate how much long-acting I needed, because I had just gotten off of this. So I took my normal 7 units that I would typically take in the morning. I used to take 7 units of this in the morning and 7 units in the evening. So I took my typical 7 units at 5 when I woke up, and it was like, 150 or whatever. And then when I woke up and it was 160, 2 hours later, this is not going to bring you down fast. It is a long-acting insulin set to be in your system for a long time and release little bits as it goes. So I didn't expect it to do anything different. I want you to know that. But what I did hope for, and what did work for me, is to keep me low for the most part of the day so I could still enjoy my time at the theme parks. I did end up giving myself 3 additional units just before breakfast, just in case, because I really didn't think I would have to worry about lows, and I didn't, knock on wood. I know myself and the Levemir pretty well. I've been on Levemir for a long time, so I felt very safe taking this and taking the 3 additional units. If you haven't already talked to your doctor about it, or if you don't feel comfortable about it, I would not recommend it. But for me, I felt very safe and very comfortable with the Levemir. So I did that, and I got to tell you, one of the other things that I did throughout the day was just to watch my carb intake. At this point, I know I don't have any insulin to bolus with. I don't have any fast-acting insulin, so don't eat a lot of carbs. For breakfast, it was just bacon and eggs, and I had a little tiny pile of home fries because they were Cajun and delicious, and was probably the best thing at that buffet breakfast anyway. But just a little, just a tad. And then for lunch, I had bangers and mash, but more bangers than mash. Just because I know myself and I know what I take. I did, however, have a beer with my lunch, and I know that beer will sometimes lower me. So I did have a beer with my lunch to kind of help with the mash. But it was a success story. When I got back home at 6 o'clock that evening to put my new set in, the whole day, well, I didn't have my sensor, obviously, to tell me, because my sensor's connected to my pump. I don't, so I didn't have the sensor to tell me kind of where I was at or anything like that. I guess I probably could have, but it was just easier to turn the sensor off and then turn it back on when I got home. So, I don't know where I was at fluctuating all day long, but every time that I checked, which was quite often, I was still maintaining like the 150. So there you have it. It's a good plan. Backups. Bye.